Hello everyone, my name is Mehdi Kornavarsi. This is my first movie about the software architecture and design, chapter 4, a technique for architecture and design. In this part, we are going to talk about the cross-cutting concerns in the application development system. Cross-cutting concerns are the features of your design that may apply across all layers, components, and tiers. These are also the area in which high-impact design mistakes are most often made. Examples of cross-cutting concerns are the below. The first one is authentication and authorization. How you choose appropriate authentication and authorization strategy. Flow identity across layers and tiers, and store user identities. The next one is caching. Cache is a higher speed memory with a limit capacity and so expensive for aligning the process speed between two parts of the hardware. So for speeding the program, we must use the caching. How the question is how to choose an appropriate caching technology. Determine what data to cache, where to cache the data, and suitable expiration policy. The next concern is communication across layers and tiers. How you choose appropriate protocols for communication across layers and tiers. Design loose coupling across layers. Perform asynchronous communication and pass sensitive data between the layers. The next concern is configuration management. Because our real environment is different, we need to configure and customize each application according to the situation. So how you determine what information must be configurable, where and how to store configuration information, how to protect sensitive configuration information, and how to handle configuration information in a form of cluster. The next concern is logging and instrumentation. How you determine which information to log, how to make logging configurable, and determine what level of instrumentation is required. The next concern is exception management or error handling. How you handle and log exceptions or errors and provide notification to the users. The next concern is validation. How you determine where and how to perform validation. The techniques you choose for validating or length, range, format, and type. How you confirm and reject input invalid values, and how you sanitize potentially malicious or dangerous input, and how you can define and reuse validation logic across your applications, layers, and tiers. Okay, let's see a short movie about 3 minutes about what is authentication and authorization and the differences.
Simple answer. Now, the expectation of the interviewer here is that do you understand the importance and the difference between these two vocabularies, that is authentication and authorization? The interviewer wants you to understand that do you know that what are the different kind of steps that takes place when you do .NET security. So in other words, whenever you implement forms authentication or Windows authentication, do you understand that what kind of different steps that takes place internally to do the complete security? Now, there is nothing to be demonstrated here. It's more of a theoretical question with a theoretical answer. So what we'll do is let's first touch base on the theory, and then let's try to understand that what we need to speak before the interview. Now, whenever you implement .NET security, I mean to say you use whatever methodology you wish, forms authentication, Windows authentication, or passport authentication, custom authentication, whatever it is, right? There are two important steps that needs to be executed to ensure that your .NET security works properly. The first one is to check if the user exists in the database or not. So the first step is you will go and check in the database if this user exists in your tables, and if he is a valid user. The second step is, once you know that the user is existing in a database, you would like to check what kind of rights does he have. So in other words, for what kind of modules does this user the access have, or what kind of access does the user have to your application. So the first step, where you go and check if the user is existing in a database or not, is called as authentication. And the second step, where you go and check, what kind of rights does this user have, is called as authorization. So what the interviewer is expecting from you is just simple two lines. Authentication means identifying who the user is, and authorization means what kind of rights does the user have in your application. The question which we just discussed is more related towards .NET security. Now, .NET security is one of the important sections in any .NET interview. Why? Because any .NET application is not complete without talking about security. So here are some connecting questions which can pop up when people ask you questions about .NET security. The first one is the importance of principal and identity objects. The second question, which is very important, is basically how have you implemented authentication and authorization in your project. So in other words, have you used forms authentication, Windows authentication, passport authentication, and if so, then how have you implemented it? In other words, have you went ahead and you changed the config file? What did you do for that? The third kind of question is more related towards membership and roles, where people expect you to understand the importance of membership and roles and how they help you to expedite your security development process. And the final one, which is more for the senior architects and senior .NET developers, is that have you worked on single sign-on, and if yes, then how did you implement single sign-on in ASP.NET? So what I would expect, what I would suggest is your Questpon video account, and in the Questpon video account we have uploaded 5 great videos related towards ASP.NET authentication and authorization.
Okay, thanks for watching this movie. I will show in the next movie these cross-cutting concerns in my own application and program, and I will show how I did all of these directions in my program. Thank you. And for the next movie, we are talking about designing for issue mitigation, how to design to reduce the error and mistake. Thank you.